Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast is number 1613. The topic is mindset and the title is Challenge Your Excuses. So what's holding you back from your goal? Lack of time? Lack of knowledge? Lack of motivation? Lack of resources? Or lack of money? No matter what it is, you can probably name it. You can probably name what's in your way, right? You can name it. But are you challenging it? If you can identify it, are you working to address it? One of the biggest hindrances to people reaching their goal is their acceptance of what's in the way. Something's in the way. You do have a challenge to it. It's valid. The challenge you are facing is valid. It is real. But have you accepted it? Or are you addressing it? If you have an excuse, it's a reason. It's a reason that is presenting itself as a challenge. It's real. But it's also real that you have to decide what to do with it. Do you accept it? Or do you address it? When you look at that challenge, are you willing to attack it? Are you willing to go after it, to freaking fight for what you want? If your struggle is a lack of time, I understand. Hell, every single person on the planet understands. There might be 1% of the population that has enough time. The other 99% of the population does not have enough time. It's very common that everyone, successful and unsuccessful, struggles with time management. That can often be, related to like energy management and priority management. There's a lot of ways that kind of presents itself, depending on whatever buzzword, people want to use at the time. But time management, how well you manage the time that you use, like your time, is impactful. It's a skill. There are $1 million industry. It's like how many apps there are, how many books there are, how many everything there is that it helps with time management. So we did a podcast, 1382. It's a mindset podcast titled, There Will Never Be More Time. Depressing, but it's true. No matter what you do, you're never going to get more than 24 hours, so how the hell can you make the most of your 24 hours? Well, you have to look and say, okay, what am I spending my time on? And are there any of those things that I can adjust? If you want to reach your goal, you have to make time for it. Even if it's just 5 minutes. Start with 1 minute, with 2 minutes, with 3 minutes. Start with any amount of time. If you're like, well, I can't devote a full hour to it. What the hell? Then start with 5 minutes. It probably won't take you a full hour to make any progress whatsoever. Probably 5 minutes is going to make some progress compared to 0 minutes. If you're currently doing 0, then 5 minutes is a lot better. 0 gets you 0. 5 minutes gets you maybe something. At least a little bit. It at least builds momentum. It starts with the ability to carve out 5 minutes. How much time management does it take to make 5 minutes? It does take a little bit of time management. You do have to say no to stuff that's less important to get 5 minutes. If you can do that, you feel good about doing 5 minutes, all of a sudden you can carve out a little more and you can make 10 minutes, 15, 20. 25. It starts the ball rolling. It starts momentum. So don't put a minimum requirement on the amount of time you're spending. Anything above 0 is productive. Just get above 0. One of my best friends introduced me to the concept of the 4 Ds, which I really like. Delete, delegate, defer, and do. I have no clue if I'm doing any of those in the right order, but I like them all. So those are kind of 4 ways in which you can look at what you do and try to figure out how to better manage it. So in podcast 817 is a mindset podcast titled Task Management, Priority Ranking Methods. It's a really good podcast. So these are some things that I do. These are things that I know successful clients do. I've worked with over 3,000 people. I know over 3,000 people, everything about their life when it comes to nutrition and training, because how are they fitting in the time for the right foods? How are they fitting in the time for the training? We talk about this all the time. So the 4 Ds, like delete, delegate, defer, and do. So delete, can you just get rid of something? Completely delete it. Or can you at least reduce? If you're doing laundry 4 times a week, can you do it only 3 times a week, then use that 4th time to do a little bit of exercise or to learn more about nutrition or maybe even food prep? Text messages. How many times do you pick up your phone a day? I think if you have an iPhone, it tells you like how many times you pick your phone up a day. It tells you how much time you spend text messaging. Look that up. It would scare the crap out of you probably. It's not uncommon for people to spend more than 10 hours a week texting. That's almost a part-time job. Texting. That's not uncommon. It's really, really not uncommon for people to spend more than 10 hours a week text messaging. How much time do you spend on social media? It's not uncommon to spend more than 2 hours accumulated throughout the day to spend more than 2 hours on social media. So it's not uncommon for people to spend 3 hours a day between texting and social media. You think that might sound insane, but I challenge you to pick up your phone, try to see if your phone can track that stuff or get an app that tracks it. It's not uncommon for people to spend 3 hours a day on text messaging and social media. And then the same people will say, I don't have time to do my goals. Well, you might have time. You might be able to reduce text messaging and social media, put some limits on it. It can be addicting. There's tons of research about like the dopamine release you get when you hear a ping or a ding or whatever the notification is for an email or a text message or a social media connection. You get a little bit like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Ooh, does somebody want something? Ooh, is that interesting? Da-da-da-da. And it's a nice, pleasant distraction from some mundane, boring crap that you sometimes have to do. But if you get through that mundane, boring crap with less distractions, you can all of a sudden have time for your big, fun, exciting goals. If you can reduce the amount of time you spend on crap that doesn't help you, it might be a pleasant distraction. But if you can reduce that, you're going to free up so much more time. So much more time. How about delegate? I talk about this often in podcasts, is there are ways to streamline things and make somebody else do it. So Instacart, make somebody else do your grocery shopping. Hire a cleaning service to come in once or twice a month. Save you some time. Use Amazon. Stop driving to stores for stuff when you can just get it delivered by Amazon. Now, with all those things, I'm sure somebody says, Amazon contributes to X amount of waste in the world, and I understand that. So you have to pick what you're comfortable with. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. I'm trying not to, you do what you do. Do whatever you want to do. Whatever makes you happy, just do it. So decide what's within your comfort zone and use it. So I use Instacart. I don't want to waste my time grocery shopping. For the most part, I don't really care about food. I find it really annoying. It's just something I have to do so I can have muscle and strength. So food to eat multiple times a day, to get in the amount of protein I need, the calories I need, it's annoying. I'm just annoyed by food. Do I like good food? You freaking bet I do when somebody else cooks it and somebody else has to clean it. But I'm annoyed by food most of the time. So if I can just get that streamlined to get it done faster, use Instacart, use meal prep services, whatever it might be. Get it done, get it out of the way. Amazon delivers food. If your grocery store doesn't have it, get it off Amazon. Get a cleaning service to come in. There are just so many ways in which you can delegate. If you're tired of cutting the grass, get some neighborhood kid to do it. Who cares if he misses like a bunch of patches in the yard? Just get it done. Just get it 80% of it done by somebody else. Saves you that amount of time. Even if you have to come back through and clean up the last 20%, you didn't have to do the other 80%. So just freaking be happy. Okay? Defer. There might be things that you're doing that you don't have to be doing right now. I know I talk to a lot of people and sometimes they're doing 2, 3, 4, 5 projects. Like there's work, there's all the life crap they have to do. Then they're working on X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, well, can you just work on X? Work on X for the next month or two, then work on Y, then work on Z. Do you have to do X, Y, Z at the same damn time? If you're doing X, Y, Z at the same time, but X, Y, Z are not as significant as your goals. They're not as exciting. They're not as life impactful as your goals. Stop doing X, Y, Z at the same time. Stretch those out a little bit. Right? And then the last D is do. If you're going to do it, can you do it more efficiently? Can you do it more effectively? And that's where podcast 817 can help. What if your challenge is lack of knowledge? Audiobooks. Oh my gosh. Free. Like, you can get a real book and read a real book. One of the things I love about audiobooks is you can still do all the stupid crap you have to do in life and listen to a book. If you have to do dishes, if you have to cook, if you have to do laundry, you can still do that because you have to do it. But you can listen to a book while you're doing it. You can watch YouTube videos. There's damn near anything you want to find on YouTube. You can hire a coach, hire a professional to help teach you, or just to help make sure that whatever effort you're putting in is the most efficient way of doing it, right? If it's lack of knowledge, good Lord, there is endless amounts of information out there at your fingertips. What about lack of motivation? That is challenging. If you don't feel motivated, how can you get started? Podcast 1084 is a mindset podcast titled Methods to Regain Motivation. Check that out. Another thing, just a basic thing, is to pick something small that's related to your goal. It's just so small that it's damn near insulting. Meaning, like, if you're like, well, I want to do this small thing every day, your initial reaction should be, well, that's so stupid. Of course I can do that. First of all, why aren't you? Second of all, if it is that easy, prove it. If you're like, well, yeah, I could do that every day, of course. Why aren't you doing it then? And then prove it. You might not want to be committing to it because as much as it sounds like it's easy, you might screw it up. You might miss a day. You might fail. And you're like, I would rather feel insulted and say, oh, of course I could do that. But never actually try it because what if I can't? Pick something so damn small that it's insulting. And then try to do it. Try to do it for 14 days. Can you do it for 14 days? The reason why this is a proven benefit, a proven step, is within 14 days you're probably going to do really well. You might find an obstacle or two, solve the obstacle or two. Then all of a sudden you say, hey, you know what? I'm actually doing really well with this really small, stupid thing. I wonder if I can make it a little bit of a bigger, stupid thing. And then, all of a sudden, there's your motivation. You don't start once you feel motivated. Starting creates motivation. Start. Then you'll be motivated. That's how it works. What about lack of resources? Well, I just don't have what I need. What the hell do you think it needs? If you're like, well, I want to work out, but I don't have any equipment. Okay, just do bodyweight workouts. Go to YouTube, search beginner bodyweight workout. You'll find 40 billion videos, and you'll be able to do one of them. If you're like, well, I can't afford to get healthy food. Maybe I don't have what it needs to eat healthy. What do you think it takes to eat healthy? Whatever you eat, just eat better proportions. Eat better portions of it, Eat a more controlled size. And then maybe you have to eat a little more frequent. A lot of people I know, they only eat 2 meals a day. Overwhelmingly, the most common reason why people are overweight is inconsistent eating, not overeating. Yeah, I'll say that again. The number one reason why people are overweight is inconsistent eating, not overeating. It's not that you overeat, it's just that you overeat sometimes and then you undereat sometimes. It's inconsistency. Podcast 1344 is a nutrition podcast titled Balancing the Books, and it talks about nutrition in relation to finances. Overwhelmingly, most people are overweight because they're inconsistent in the way they eat, not because they overeat. So if you just eat a little more often, but more controlled portions per meal, just eat like you know you're going to eat your next meal. Don't eat like you think it's the last meal of your life. You're going to eat again in a couple hours. Eat this meal knowing that you're going to eat again in a couple hours, right? What about lack of money? People say, I don't have the money for a coach, or I don't have the money for this, or I don't have the money for that. Then don't. Or streamline what you do. You can say no to things. Say no for now, just not forever. It's no for this for now. But I'll pick it up later. I've had times in my life where I didn't have a lot of money. I ate tuna and rice, and I hate tuna. It was just cheap. I remember at one point in time when I was trying to grow the gym, I was eating tuna and rice and living off of supplement samples because I worked part-time at a supplement store. So anytime there were samples of protein powder, anytime there were samples of anything that had calories in it, I snatched those suckers up because I was trying to save money. My entertainment budget was $2 a week. I would rent a Redbox movie on Saturdays. And very rarely would I actually be able to stay awake for the whole movie, so I'd finish it on Sundays. But the bummer was, if you don't return it in 24 hours, you get charged another day. And man, I cannot tell you the sadness and depression that came from the weekends that I would miss that 24-hour thing, because I knew the next weekend I wouldn't be able to rent a movie because my $2 was up. It was $1.60. I actually remember the exact amount. So it was $1.60 to rent a movie through Redbox. And that was my entertainment. I'm like, I'm going to rent a movie, and I'm going to get to watch a fun movie on a Saturday. I worked all week, dead tired. Worked all Saturday mornings, usually from 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. And then I was like, I just want to watch a movie. I want to eat something and watch a movie. So I'd sit down and fall asleep halfway through the movie, try to finish it on Sunday, might fall asleep, and then realize, oh shit, I didn't return it in time. I don't get a movie next weekend. I had $2 freaking budget for entertainment. Didn't eat out. I had no TV at my house. I had no internet at my house. Why the hell would I pay for it? I was never there. You have to say no to things to save money for the things you do want. If you want it, fight for it. Suffer for it. The fight and the suffering are only temporary. You just do it as long as you need, and then you pick it right back up. So what do you want? What do you want? What's your goals? What do you want to do before you die? What do you want to do before you're too old to do it? Too many injuries. Whatever it might be. There will come a day whenever doing it is no longer a possibility. And that day will come without you knowing it. Think about a time you hung out with your high school friends. There was a day that was the last day that you would ever see them for your entire life. That was the last time you'd ever see them. For many adults, think about riding a bike. When's the last time you rode a bike? Did you know that the last time you rode a bike would be the last time you ride a bike? There are so many things in our life already, no matter what age you are, that you have already done for the last time and you didn't know it. What do you want? How long do you think you have to achieve it? Are you in denial of the fact that someday the possibility to achieve it will be gone? And that you will never know when that day is? What do you want? What's in your way? Are you willing to challenge it? What's holding you back is you. Your decision to address it. Your decision to attack it. Your decision to find a way. What's holding you back is you. Get out of your own way. Help yourself. Fight for what you want. Attack it. Okay? If there's anything I can do, reach out. My email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. I'm always here and I'm always happy to help. If you find our podcast beneficial, make sure you share it. If you share it, let people know that we answer questions for free. They can reach out at any time and we'll make a podcast for them. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. You can do so on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. There's a high hosting cost every year. I give an hour to this thing every day. I really appreciate the donations. Even just $5 a month does add up and it does help. Also, if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us on Instagram and on YouTube. So find us and follow us under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening.